Hey, 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 Nicole Roberts Jones here, and welcome back to our special three-part series where I'm walking you through 56 lessons of meaningful work. Excited, humble, blessed to be here with you to give you tools, insight, strategy to live the life that God intended for you. Work takes up 80% of our lives, 80%. And who wants to be doing work that you don't like? Who wants to dread Monday mornings? Who wants to not love what you do? So, my goal, my hope, my desire, my calling in this podcast series is to give you tools so that you, one, understand your purpose. We talked about that in chapter one, in part one, that you begin to understand how to align it with your work. Talked about that in part one as well. And we talked about money in part one. So, if you missed part one, go back and listen to it. We're here in part two. I'm getting into our next now. Again, I shared with you this in part one. In order for me to go through the 56 lessons, I had to break it up into 3 episodes and into 8 chapters. Now, even doing that, can I tell you there was so much more I could share with you? So I tried to pick the highlights. All right. So we went through chapter one, two, and three in our last episode. If you missed it, go back and listen. We're moving now into chapter number 4. The lessons I've learned in meaningful work around work transitions. Now, this is apropos. Many people right now are losing jobs because of the economy and because of the federal jobs that have been dissipated. And so these are some of the lessons that I learned, right? Here's number 21. There comes a time when your job is no longer big enough for your gift. So, whether you are in transition by choice or not by choice, as you begin to look for what's next, understand if it's a time for you to go to your next level. Talked about this in part one. And maybe that oust out was an opportunity for you to do the thing that takes your gift to the next level. Think about it. When you wear a pair of pants that don't fit, how many of y'all have done that? I know I have, right? How uncomfortable it is, how hard it is to sit, how hard it is to just be, how hard it is to eat when your pants are tight, right? But what happens when your job doesn't fit? That's when you are either bored, where you dread going to work. I can keep going and keep going. And some of you, your job never fit, but you were looking at the money as a source instead of a resource. By the way, these are highlights from part one, y'all, if you missed it. Okay. So that's 21. There comes a time when your job is no longer big enough for your gift. Why? Because God has another level for you to go after. Number 22, when they go low, I go high. Woo! This was a huge lesson for me because when someone at work talks to you like they done lost their mind, the Inglewood in me, if I keep it real, wants to go back off on them and start a whole fight. But the Jesus in me and the more aware, awake, and executive level, Nicole, realizes that I can't stoop to their level. I've got to realize, how do I stay on my level and not go down to theirs? It's like you never see an eagle hanging out with a pigeon. So I've got to fly with eagle's wings and stay at the height that God is calling me to and not be pulled down by their drama or how they're acting. And listen, it's even harder with students, y'all, because students do, ooh, I got stories for days already in 6 months, right? But love that Michelle Obama said this: when they go low, I go high. Number 23, give yourself grace. Great things take time. So I like to call this reclaiming my time. Y'all remember this, Maxine Waters, years ago, and the councilman kept not answering her question, and she was like, reclaiming my time. Well, I realized if I give myself grace, I could be in that moment and reclaim my time. There's a Bible verse here, Ephesians 5:16, that says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Meaning that if I make sure, listen, I remember there was a time when I wasn't organized and I look up and the day would be gone and I wouldn't even realize what I had gotten done. Or when I leave my emails open and I'm answering emails and not getting stuff done, I've had to reclaim my time and give myself the grace that I need to get things done in the way that I can get them done. And when you're looking for a job, you've got to give yourself grace because, listen, especially in this climate, it's not going to happen overnight. So you give yourself grace, you begin to realize, what do I need to go after that job? This is, by the way, where a coach is beneficial. So that you reclaim you reclaim your gifts, you reclaim your time because you're not just going after the job that you think that you qualify for. because maybe what you did before, there might be some things you're overlooking about what you already have. Yeah, those of you that were on part one, you're hearing how these things relate. And so that's where a coach is beneficial. Okay. So again, 23 is give yourself grace. Great things take time. Big lesson. Ooh, this is a big one. I had to number 24, let go of how. So this is the way I like to explain this. Have you ever been to a drive-through? Now, I'm admit this is when I'm on a cheat day, so don't judge me. When I'm on a cheat day and I'm at McDonald's and I get my favorite fillet of fish, I drive up to the window and I place my order. And then I go right up to my next window and pay and get it. I never think about how are they gonna put together my fillet of fish. I never think about, do they have fillet of fish? Do they have the special sauce? Do they have the bread I like? Do they? I never think of that. I never think about how. But for many of us, we're stuck in the how, and God is in the how. It may not ever happen the way you think it's gonna happen. But if you stay stuck in the how, you're not giving yourself grace in the time that it's taking for things to happen. Listen, one of my greatest lessons I learned is after my last bad breakup before my husband, right? My hair's stuck on my zipper, y'all. My last bad breakup, um, I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember saying to myself, you know what? God, I'm gonna date you. I'm done. I'm done with men. I'm not gonna think about getting married. And I met my husband, and literally I focused on friendship. I didn't focus on marriage. I let go of how. And I enjoyed him so much. He literally is my best friend now because I focus on friendship. I let go of how. And I think for many of us, it's the how that gets us stuck in because we can't see how, we don't go after what's possible. Because we can't see how, we think it's never going to happen. And it puts us in depression or in frustration because we can't see how or we don't understand why. Another one, right? So again, I had to let go of how. Last one, 25 here in this chapter. Always go after my 10% more. Now, this is also a play off of my levels. So there comes a time where it's time to grow to your next, right? So I call this 10% more because listen, if I tried to jump from here to the other side of my house, I couldn't. And you guys can't see, but you can see this plant right here, right? Oh, it's on this side. So if I stood up and I jumped from this side to this side, I could do that. That's 10%. But me jumping from here to the other side of my house, yeah, can't do that. So if I focus on the little pieces that I can do each day to get to my big goal, I get there. So instead of focusing on all the things that can be overwhelming. So let's say you're looking for a job and it's not happening. What's the 10% more you can do? Maybe it's going to a networking event. Maybe it's reaching out to an old colleague. What's the 10% more that you can do each day that will get you to that win? Okay. So that's my work transition suite. Next chapter is health. Oh, this first one is was a whammy, a slap in my face on this one. Treat your body like a temple. Now, I remember I was talking about, excuse me, stewardship in a podcast. This was maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, this was during COVID. And God began to say to me, well, first, let me say the Bible verse that this is from. So the Bible verse that this treat your body like a temple comes from is 1 Corinthians 6:19 that says, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God and who you are not, and you are not your own. Let me read that over. I messed that all up. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? So your body is the Holy Spirit's temple. Now, how many of you guys have been to a temple? Not many. I've never been to a temple. I've been to a house. I've driven past many a shack. But many of us treat our bodies like a shack. All the junk we eat, unhealthy things. Now, I'm not going to lie. Every now and then you heard me talk about filet of fish a few minutes ago. And every now and then I'm going to have a cookie or a piece of cake. But what God began to get after me in COVID is my little daily glass of wine or Cosmo. I remember God said to me, you're not stewarding your body. I was like, I wasn't even talking to you, Lord. I was recording a podcast. That's really what I said back after I finished recording. But he really got me because I realized that I had been treating my body like a temple. Now, do I like wine? Yes, but I don't need to drink it every day. I have to start to realize what can I do to keep my temple running in full order so I can do the work that God's crafted and created me to do. right? I'll talk more about spiritual. That's another whole step. So let me stop with that. The next thing here in health is 27. I had to build a consistent self care routine. Like, what do I need to feel full and complete? So, one of my big self care things is I've got to take a nice hot bath. I take one just about every night, probably out of 7 days a week, at least six. Nice hot with some Epsom salt and some bubbles. Consistent self care routine. Consistent self care routine is having my Jesus time. I'll talk about that in spiritual more. Consistent self care routine. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm horrible on this working out. I try to do, well, I want to do 5 days a week. Most weeks I do two. But if I can get up to three, I'd be happy. Excuse me. I don't know why my allergies are acting up right now while I'm trying to record this podcast, right? But even with that, with my allergies, knowing that for me right now in the fall is allergy season, I got to be consistent with my meds, which I didn't take today. Hello, which is why I'm having a problem right now. And doing the things I need to do to take care of me. Number 28 here in this suite or chapter is work life balance is not possible. I had to let go of work life balance. So I did a two-part series called Work Life Balance Hacks. And I shared with you a process I created calling Equalize Your Life. Because what you need and what I need might be two totally different things. And that's okay. You've got to identify what it is that you need. So if you're having problem with work-life balance, know that that's normal, but you've got to begin to define what you need. So work-life balance hacks, two-part series, gave you the tools that I share with my clients. Go back and listen to that again. It'll be in the show notes. All right. So next one, I had to eat different in menopause. So let me tell you, I could eat what I wanted, how I wanted, why I wanted before menopause came and knocked on my door, and I gained 20 pounds. And I tried all the things. I had skinny shots, took the skinny shots, stopped taking them, gained the 20 pounds back. And I don't eat bad. I eat pretty clean, y'all. I have a little cheat every now and then, probably once a week at the most. Like I don't have filet of fish every week. I probably have filet of fish maybe every 3 months. I might have a filet of fish. I don't have a piece of cake every week. It's maybe every 2 or 3 months I might have a piece of cake or a cupcake or a cookie or something. It's not often, but yet I was gaining weight. So I had to learn that what I did before is not going to help me now. So me working out 30 extra minutes didn't help me lose the weight. I had to learn a whole new way to eat in menopause so that I could still eat and enjoy the things I love, but I lost 15 of the 20. 5 still is hanging on. But by learning to do something different instead of trying to do the quick way, the skinny shots, which I lost the weight, but it came right on back. And I eat clean, y'all. I don't eat chips. I eat chips maybe on a Saturday. Maybe if I have at a Mexican restaurant, I might have some tortilla and salsa, but that's kind of it. So I had to learn a whole new way. Now, number 30 is my favorite. Y'all ready? The power of a good nap. Hello, somebody. Now, I used to be able to take a 20-minute power nap, but now in this age, baby, 20 minutes ain't enough. It makes me angry. So I need an hour. And my husband laughs at me because I'll come home from work. I need an hour to lay down before we eat. I need a minute. And sometimes I don't sleep, but it's just letting my body rest from the day. Saturdays, oh, I'm taking a nap. And what's funny is my husband can't take a nap. So he gets mad at me because he doesn't know how to take a nap. My husband's mind is always racing. So you've got to learn to let all those things go, take care of you, and allow your body the time it needs to rest. I used to call this nap ministry, especially when I first started menopause, because those of you that know in menopause, you start getting tired. So I had to learn meds and all the things to take so I don't wake up in the middle of the night like I used to. But I will tell you what I used to do is take a nap for lunch because I was tired because I would be up all night. So a nap will do your body good. It just does. It really does. At least it does my body good. Now we're moving into chapter 6, which is relationships. Now again, I can't do all the things. There's so many things I wanted to talk about. I had to cut things down. I had like 100 and something things, y'all. It was hard to cut to 56, but I got it down to 56. So here's our relationship chapter. First thing, you got to build the right workplace relationships. You know, I remember I told you, I didn't tell you this. I used to work at First AME Church after that whole episode with Pastor, and I told the story in part one. So I used to work at First AME Church, and literally, I would come to church on Sunday, And actually, this happened before I started working there. Actually, I would come to church on Sunday, and those of you that know First and Me again, mega church parking was crazy. The parking attendants would always park my car. You know why? Because I spoke to them. I'd bring them water when it was hot outside. I did all the things. I was building the relationships, but I wasn't doing it because I was trying to build the right workplace relationships. But here's what I know: so many people just focus on executive level relationships, but often who holds the keys are the administrative staff, the front desk worker. I remember when I was a school change consultant, I've had so many jobs, y'all. And this one particular school had a hard time really developing programs where I realized the front desk receptionist knew everything. That became my girl. And so I'd have lunch with her. Not because I'm using her, I actually liked her as a person, but I'm building the relationship. We began to talk. And listen, began to develop programs nobody was able to develop there. $500,000 grant got funded that then fully let that program run, but it was because I developed the right relationships. Last example I'm gonna give you: when I was hired to create programming in the Pasadena Housing Authority, so in the projects in Pasadena, California, I remember telling the president of the housing authority that hired me. He said, "Oh, you're gonna come in, and what do you think we need?" I said, "Well, I need to meet the president of the resident council." He looked at me. I said, "I don't live here, so I can't tell you what they need. She can though." So I sat down with her, met with her, again, building the right workplace relationships. And I said to her, I want to do a survey. I said, can I give it to you? And when you knock on and walk around and talk to people, I said to her, let me tell you why. I don't live here. When you go to people's doors, everybody knows you, they'll talk to you. When I come with you, they're going to be looking at me like, who is that? And why does she want to know this? If you get all the information, let's sit and talk, and I'll develop the programs based on the feedback you get. By the time she finished, I had gone to the police department, got information. I had gone to the city and got information. So I was able to look at what the data she got and the city data and develop the program. Again, wrote a grant, got funded, and funded the center there. The president was amazed, but I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't because I was able to do it. I commended the president of resident council the whole way through because it was really her that did it. I was just the catalyst. But again, I was building the right workplace relationships. I wonder how far you could get in your career if you built the right relationships. And it's not always the executive team, y'all. I'm not saying you don't need to build relationships with your bosses. You do, but don't overlook everybody that's on that team because it's a gem in the administrative staff sometimes that many people overlook. Number 32, forgive and let go. Listen, you can be bitter or you can be blessed. You can't be bitter and blessed because a blessed person would never be bitter. Come on, somebody. So, what I've learned is there are lessons that can be learned when I go through a bad breakup. I'm going to talk about this more, I think in the next part three. But if I stay stuck on it and why and how and all those things, then I'll never get to the blessing that God had for me. Listen, I told you before my husband, I went through a really bad breakup, y'all. I could have wallowed in that. I could have wallowed in the fact that he cheated and all the things. But instead, I let go. I met my husband the next day. And I wasn't trying. So forgiving doesn't mean to forget. It means that you release anything that you're tied to around that situation. Doesn't mean I'm gonna let that person back in because you already showed me who you were. As Maya Angelou's quote says, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time, not the second, but the first. And so it doesn't mean to forget, but it means to move on and not stay stuck and bitter, right? So next here, 33, the key to having difficult conversations. Now listen, and I think I'm gonna talk about this. I might talk about this in the next as well. Some of these I told you guys will bump up against each other. I had to realize that I can't control anybody else but me. So when someone's being difficult, and I also talked about this in part one, it's usually values. The difficult is because the values are bumping, usually 9 times out of 10. Or maybe the person's just difficult. You can't do anything about them, but you can do something about who you are and how you deal with them. I did a series on how to deal with difficult people. Go listen to that because I walked you through a whole communication charter that you can use if you're having to have difficult conversations. Okay. 34, be anxious for nothing. Now, this is based on a Bible verse, Philippians 4:6, which says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Be anxious for nothing. So when I'm overlooked for a raise, be anxious for nothing. Because listen, maybe it's not my time. Maybe God has something bigger and better for me, and He always does. When I began to realize, okay, I want to do career development, and I really realized that's what God is calling me to. It took me a while to figure out what career that would be, what job that would be. I started applying to jobs, I didn't get any of them. And I'm like, well, listen, I got a master's degree. I've got a honorary PhD. Listen, I won the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Hello, come on, somebody. And I can't get a job. My PhD is actually in connection to the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award that I got. And yet everybody was overlooking me. I kept saying, okay, Lord, obviously there's one job for me. And literally, when I went to meet at UDC, my spirit came alive. I couldn't sleep that night after that my interview because I started thinking of all the things I could do. It was like God was pouring ideas in me. Be anxious for nothing. That was the right job for me. And after that interview, I knew this is it. But had I been anxious, I'm not going to act like I wasn't at moments. I had to keep saying, Lord, I trust you. I don't know why I'm not getting any interviews, or I get interviews and wouldn't get the job, overqualified. Listen, I had an interview for a huge recruitment firm as a leadership development coach. Perfect for me. All the work I've done in the 30 years. I didn't get that job. And I was like, what? What? I couldn't believe it. Even the person that referred me to it couldn't believe I didn't get the job because it wasn't the job for me. It wasn't the right job for me. So I had to be anxious for nothing. I kept saying to my husband after I didn't get that job, that's obviously not the job for me. The right one is coming. And it came. And voila. 35. Exercise patience and compassion. You're going to hear me talk about patience a lot because I always want things like this. But when you're in a relationship, you got two different people living one life, or two different people on one team trying to work on one goal. And the way you do things may not be the way they do things. So you've got to exercise patience to really understand that the way you do things is the way you do them. And begin to understand, how do two people work together without losing your mind, right? How do you begin to have compassion and understand where they're coming from so that you can get to a happy medium when you're working on a team? Even as the head of a team, it's really understanding each gift in each of my people and exercising patience for those that are unorganized and a little high strung, and exercising compassion for those that are going through things. Because at the end of the day, you're at work, but you have a life outside of work. And if I try to overlook that they're going through things personally and I don't exercise compassion, I'm not rising up to see the whole person that they are. 36. Favorite, ask better questions. Whew, such a good one. Listen, the reason I say this is such a good one is because this. When you have a bad breakup and you start saying, well, why? Why did he cheat on me? And why did he pick her over me? And why? My better question is, how did I not see that he was a cheater? And how did I not see that he was and the woman before that was too? You got to ask yourself better questions. When you start trying to figure out why they did this to you instead of the part you played and how you can let go and move past that, makes a big difference. When I get overlooked for a promotion, instead of me going, why did he overlook me? Ask better questions. What could I have done differently? Number 37, you have to train people how to treat you. You have to train people how to treat you. Listen, when you are going through something, or when you're new to a team, or let me just say it like this. Here's a good example. When I was working from home, this was before COVID, and my husband worked a job, he would call me all the time to run errands for him like I was his assistant. He might listen to this, but this is real. And listen, what I started doing is not answering his calls. I would text him and say, what's up? And he would ask me what he would ask me to do. Can you go to the cleaners? I can go tomorrow. So guess what? He stopped asking me to run errands for him because I was training him how to treat me. You've got to put up boundaries and be like a dog on the bone so people understand that they can or cannot do this to you. But if you just say it is one thing. If you don't act it, it's another. You got to train people how to treat you. You got to train your team. If someone's talking to you like they lost their mind, you don't go and like when they go low, we go high. You go low with them, it keeps them low. You rise above it, you're training them how to treat you. Now, full disclosure, y'all, 35, I was supposed to change it. I see my notes here. I'm supposed to change it to no is a complete sentence, right? Because I said this one already, I think, in part one. So let me talk about no as a complete sentence, which should have been number 35. And the reason I'm saying this now is so important. I told you guys I moved so many of these around and I forgot to change my slide. And I'm transparent because I'm not perfect, but I am. Listen, I don't focus on perfection, but I focus on excellence. Mhm. So, no is a complete sentence. What I realize in relationships is when you say no and then you start to explain why you're saying no, you're talking yourself out of your no because then that person's going to talk you into the yes. I don't explain it. I say no. I talked about this in my work life balance hacks episode. Go listen because I give you tools for that. But you've got to understand you have permission to say no. You've got to exercise it. And it's a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself or justify it. It's a no. That's a no for me. Mhm. So, with that said, y'all, that is part two of our 56 lessons in meaningful work. I'm up to number 37. We have 18 left. Would love to hear from you. If you didn't watch part one, go back and watch part one. This is part two. Want to hear your takeaways from part two. Want to hear the things that you're working on, the things that may have stepped on your toes just a little. And then here's the other thing I want you to do. As we're winding up this season, and I begin, listen, at the end of every year, I sit in quiet contemplation, asking God direction for the following year. So my direction is going to be about this podcast. So I would love to add your comments into my prayers. Tell me what things are resonating with you, what conversations you want to have in season two of Meaningful Work Podcast, what questions you have that I can address. Share those with me. And where you send them, is I'm going to write this on here. I don't know why I didn't write this on the slide from the beginning. Email info at NicoleRobertsJones.com. You guys can hear me typing. Again, or you can reply to the email. Those of you that get the email, right? Info at NicoleRobertsJones.com. I want to hear from you. And the reason I want to hear from you is this podcast is for you. I'm going to make sure you're getting all the things that you need to make your life feel full and complete, to make your work meaningful. All right. So, with that said, I look forward to pouring more into you in part three of this series. And I look forward to hearing your comments. All right. So, with that, thank you. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.